Halo Infinite has just released its delayed and long-awaited second season, including some new maps, modes, and cosmetics. But it's been a bumpy road for the game, the developers, and its community to get to this point. So is Season 2 enough to smooth things out? Not really. But even so, I gotta admit, I love this bloody game.
They aren't hostiles. They're wolves. Back from the hunt.
Double kill. No scope. Enemy has the wall. Perfect. Triple kill.
Achieved.
Now, I'm not going to get into a full review of Infinite's campaign, or spend too much time rehashing the issues the game has had since launch. That would probably make this an hour-long video, and I'm not allowed to rant about Halo for an hour, apparently. But I will say I personally loved the campaign. The open world approach worked great, even if the world itself was a bit dull. And the story packed some nice emotional punch, and did the best it could to clean up the mess that was left after Halo 5. Meanwhile, the multiplayer felt like a great return to form for the series, focusing on nailing the feel of classic Halo gameplay, but modernizing it just enough to fit in with today's expectations. If someone had asked me years ago what my ideal Halo game would be, I'd pretty much have described Infinite, in theory at least. Because in practice, the multiplayer in particular has struggled with quite a few teething problems in its jump to being a free-to-play live service game. Things like its progression system, challenges, the store, and basic character customization options have all been major bones of contention in the community. And that's along with other issues like its broken theater replays and custom games. Like I said, it's been a bumpy road, but I think the part that hurt it most was the fact that Season 1 dragged on for 6 long months, without anywhere near enough content to keep players happy. Combine that with it missing big tentpole features like campaign co-op and the community creation tools of Forge. That's all led to Infinite's player base shrinking by the day. Enter Season 2, Lone Wolves, bringer of content, savior of Halo. I wish. But there is good stuff here. To kick things off, there's a bit of story, and if you don't want that spoiled, there's a chapter you can skip to below. Here, 2 Spartans return from a mission after capturing a banished AI. And I'm sure it's not just me, but he gives me a deranged Aku Aku from Crash Bandicoot vibe.
I will crush your bodies and feast on the
How did you?
Which I kinda love, to be honest. It's silly, and I've always enjoyed the silly side of Halo. Then you're told to go play the new Last Spartan standing mode, to trap the AI, and that's the story. It's not a lot, but there is another narrative event happening later in the season, and I'm keen to see it develop. But now onto the real meat of the season. Firstly, we got 2 new maps. One is the asymmetrical big team battle map Breaker. It's a big scrapyard with lots of bits you can climb on to be a bit sneaky, as well as having lots of long sightlines to pick off anyone in the open. And it has a giant freaking laser that carves down the middle of it. Those kind of big dynamic features are something Infinite's maps have been sorely missing, so it's good to see more of that. And I enjoy the red, dusty Martian feel to it, which sets it apart from the rest of the maps. Then there's Catalyst, a smaller 4v4 arena map. It's symmetrical with 2 coves on each side of a couple of bridges. It's got lots of little holes and spaces that suddenly open up into larger areas, leading to some fun cat and mouse moments. I love the giant hole in the middle, which adds a bit of danger, and surprisingly, I haven't fallen in it much yet. It's also got a bit of a classic Halo vibe to it, which is something the initial batch of mostly human-based maps were kind of missing. So big ticks from me on the new maps. Arguably though, the biggest addition this season is the Last Spartan standing mode. This is essentially a mini battle royale, and the rules are fairly straightforward. 12 players spawn in, each with 5 lives. Last one alive wins.
Victory!
After a certain period, or once there's only a few Spartans left, a giant red wall of death starts to close in, and as you get kills and assists, you'll earn XP that lets you level up your loadout at your discretion. Eliminated Spartans also drop large XP bonuses that you can pick up, but it's risky as everyone can see if they're getting claimed and you're essentially stuck in place and helpless while you do. It's not going to tempt anyone away from Fortnite or Apex, but it's a simple, clean take on Battle Royale. I love having multiple lives and multiple chances to win. It makes it a little less sweaty and gives you room to have a bit more fun. And it's a slightly slower paced mode for Halo, which I personally enjoy. I like the tension it builds as people tend to play a bit sneakier, sticking to the edges of the map, waiting for the chance to get the drop on someone. But you also can't hide, because you need to get aggressive and get kills if you want to level up and be powerful enough towards the end of a match to secure that win.
Victory.
And I also like that there's no scavenging for weapons or any inventory management to fuss around with. You just press a button, you level up, and you get your next loadout. There is some scavenging though. Grenades have to be picked up off the field, and drop pods regularly bring in overshields and camouflage power-ups, and soon other kinds of equipment as well. These will absolutely turn things in your favor if you can nab them. It's certainly not perfect though. Where power-ups drop is completely random, so some matches I found myself just getting lucky and a bunch of them would just drop in all around me, while other times I couldn't find any and found myself on the receiving end of someone else's luck. The death circle could start to come in a bit earlier and a bit faster too. Most matches finish up well before it gets a chance to have much impact. So far, it's also only been available on one map, and the loadouts always stay the same, which has made matches start to feel a bit samey. I think it's a great basis for a new Halo mode though, it just needs some more variety. So I'm keen to see how it will play on other maps, and I hope we see it evolve with some variations in loadouts and rules. They've also added back in King of the Hill with a twist. Teams now have to first get in the hill for a second to secure it, then they have to fill up a progress bar to secure a point, and then a new hill spawns. I'm not totally sold on the changes though. Before, even if you got in the hill just for a couple of seconds, you'd have helped your team. But now, if the enemy nabs the point, your effort was just wasted. And because hills don't move until captured, tougher to control areas can become real meat grinders. It's still fun, but it just seems different for the sake of being different, rather than being a clearly better experience. There is also another new mode coming soon called Land Grab, but it's not available yet, so... One of my favourite additions is the Rumble Pit playlist. This has a whole heap of silly free-for-all variants that are exactly what the game needed. It has modes like Vampire Ball, where the oddball is a one-hit kill, health recharging ball of death. One where everyone has rocket launchers and repulsors. A mode where everyone spawns with grapples and swords. I want to see more of that kind of chaos, please. And of course, there's a new Battle Pass to work through, which comes with a great looking new armor core. And from next week, there's a new World War II armor coming as part of the season's free Fracture event. Speaking of the Battle Pass, it now rewards you the premium currency credits if you're on the premium track. And they'll give you enough that if you get through your pass, and you don't buy any cat ears or clippy charms, you'll have enough to buy your next premium pass. So you could in theory buy one once, and never need to buy one again. Which is admittedly a common thing to find in battle passes, but it's nice to have here. And that's more or less it for the new content, for now at least. Of course, there's a big list of smaller changes, additions, and balance updates, which I won't go through all of, but my personal favourite is the fact that iconic Halo announcer Jeff Steitzer is now back in big team battle matches.
Ballista.
So is the content drought over? Well, it's definitely an improvement, but 2 new maps, a few new modes and playlists, that's just not going to be enough to bring the players who bounced off the game back. And as a result, even just 2 weeks into a brand new season, it can be a struggle to find games in anything but the most popular playlists. And even then, I'm quite often stuck on overseas servers with 150 millisecond plus pings. This results in a large increase in what is technically known as bullcrap. Things like getting shot behind walls or blasted the second you see someone. It was also maybe a questionable call to make this season focus on the whole lone wolf thing. Most of the great new things to play here are free-for-all style game modes, and you can't join them if you're in a fire team with a friend. So the community that is here, who want to play the new modes with their friends, just can't. I understand they don't want people teaming up in free-for-all modes or cheesing challenges together, but I don't think most people would do that, and I think they lose a lot more by blocking all the friends that want to play together than they gain by potentially blocking a few bad apples. And even then, who cares if someone cheeses a challenge just to get a new colour on their gun quicker? Also, I have to mention that it's been a rough launch for the season, with some frustrating and baffling choices being made. Firstly, we were told Season 2 is going to last another 6 months. The reason being is they need more time to improve the general quality of life issues that players have, and they don't want to make anyone work unhealthy hours to crunch out the next season. It's disappointing news, but I support that. But considering the game was delayed a year, then the second season was delayed 3 months, and now the third one is too, I think most players' patience has simply run out at this point. And while the new season did fix a bunch of bugs and issues, it also added a bunch more. One of the big ones is a bug that just stops your gun from firing on random trigger pulls, which thankfully they've said will be fixed soon. They also reduced melee damage by 10% on all weapons. In practice, it isn't something I noticed a lot, but what's odd is that it was done to fix issues with just one gun in particular, the Mangler. It's an odd choice to nerf all the things to fix one thing. I mean, that isn't what people wanted. And it's especially weird because it made it so the battle rifle would take 3 shots and a melee hit to kill. Except they didn't want to change how the battle rifle worked in ranked matches, so they made it so it's still 2 shots and a melee hit to kill in ranked matches. I just think it's bizarre to have a gun behave differently between ranked and social. Ugh, weird, don't like it. They also removed a bunch of skill jumps and nerfed some movement techniques that high-level players use to get around maps quicker. And they only let players know about this change when the patch landed. Again, no one asked for that. And they removed a fun glitch from the campaign which let you wield a tank gun. That just wasn't a problem. Sadly, the Halo community is just restless and frustrated, and this update felt like it was 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and 1 weird turn and spin off in a direction no one asked for. But to developer 343 Industries' credit, I think they do a genuinely good job of listening to the community. They clearly see all the feedback, and they seem to say and do the right thing in response to the criticisms, in most cases at least.
Just wanted to acknowledge that we understand it's been a stressful time for the community. It's been a stressful time for us here at the studio.
And just last week, they said they're actually bringing back most of the skill jumps, they're bringing back the tank gun, and will fix the gun jamming in a patch soon. So that was great to see. Even so, it's just frustrating for fans to feel like the developer often isn't on the same page as them. And it feels like it takes forever for even minor fixes and changes to happen, which feels especially baffling from a flagship studio like 343 under the umbrella of a mega corporation like Microsoft. But the response to issues in Season 2 has been swift, which is encouraging, and hopefully is a sign of things to come. And I am hopeful that this 6-month season won't be as much of a drag as Season 1 was. Firstly, 343 have promised there'll be monthly drop pods of content and updates. And if those can include even just 1 map or substantial piece of content, that will go a long way. They're also aiming to bring online co-op out in August and a beta release of Forge in September, which I think will both be big shots in the arm for the community and the game. I'm also excited by the fact that they've roped in developer Certain Affinity to help work on Halo. There's rumors and leaks which are pointing to them working on some huge new mode, something like a battle royale with up to 100 players, but with a Halo twist along the lines of maybe a massive firefight style mode or something like Halo 5's Warzone. But of course, until it's officially confirmed and revealed, it could just end up on the pile of things that never happened. But I'm hopeful we'll hear about it at the Xbox showcase. I think a big new mode like that is exactly what the game needs to reignite interest and entice players back. But even without that, I've got my fingers crossed that by the time Season 3 rolls around, the game will be in a much healthier place. I know some have already written Infinite off as a dead game, but in my opinion, it's got strong bones, and if the support keeps coming, I'd wager it will make a solid No Man's Sky or Sea of Thieves style comeback, rather than becoming the next Anthem. Of course, time and the players will ultimately decide which way things go. So what's the verdict? Well, if you haven't noticed, I'm a massive Halo fan. I think most of us have 1 or 2 game series that speak to the core of the gamers that we are, and for me that series is Halo. I just love it. I mean, here I am on Good Game cradling a Master Chief helmet.
Oh, Halo Wars isn't out yet.
And here I am dressed as Chief, feeding some birds. I don't really know what that proves, but I think it proves something. I just love Halo. I love it. I love the story, I love the universe, and I love the combat loop. It's the most satisfying death dance in all of gaming to me. The room it gives you for strategy, for outplays and mind games. I just don't get that from other shooters I've played. And the sounds just do things to me. The shields, the announcer,
Perfect.
the music, those crispy guns. I love the craziness of a great big team battle moment, or a silly rumble pit round, or clinching the win in a ranked match. Halo can just do so many different things so well, and when it's good, it's just so good. But there is still a lot of work to be done on Infinite. And for now, there's not enough here for anything but us diehards to really care about. And even we are just running on the fumes of our obsession at this point. I hope that when we're looking back at the first year of Infinite, we'll just remember it as being kinda like an extended beta period, and how year 2 was when it really showed us what it's made of. But in the here and now, for most people, I'd say check back in 6 months, and as much as it pains me to say, for now, pass. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go play some more Halo.